So we're going to walk through a few different skills in Pixlr. We're going to take this picture of Sparty and we're going to throw him on the moon. We're going to make it look like some sort of footage taken from the astronauts when they were on the moon. In the process, we are going to be learning how to do a cutout using the AI mask tool. And then we're going to talk about how to edit that cutout using the brush mask tool. We're going to talk about how to take this picture and combine it with another picture. We'll get this picture of the moon right from within Pixlr. We're going to add some filters. We're going to drop shadow. We're going to take the color out of the picture. We're going to add this little line effect, and then we'll finish up by adding a little bit of text down in the corner. So let's get started. You're going to go to pixlr.com, pixlr.com/e, pixlr.com/e, and that is going to get you where you need to be. There are two different Pixlr tools. We're using the one called E. If you're on the other tool, which is Pixlr, let's say Pixlr X. If you're using Pixlr X, you're not going to see the same tools as if you're into Pixlr E. All right. Once you get into Pixlr E, you're going to click the Open Image button and find your way to the folder called GPU Sparty. Should be on your flash drive. Get your flash drive by going to this PC, finding the flash drive, and then opening the folder called GPU Sparty. We're going to use this picture here of him striking this pose and just hit open. So to do the cutout, we're going to use the mask tool. Over on the left, you see all of these tools. Each one pops up with a little picture and explanation. There are way more tools than we're going to be able to get to in our class. We want to look at the one called Cutout Mask. Little picture of scissors. Click on that. And there are different mask tools that you can choose. And the one that we want to start with is this one here called AI Auto. It's going to try to guess what you want to do and try to do it for you. And because this picture is Sparty, because he's on a pretty much white background, should make it pretty simple for the AI tool. If it were a pretty complex background, we'd have to do a lot more work with our cutout. But because it's a simple background, let's just hit the AI Auto. You're going to get a little message saying the robot is thinking, and then the robot's going to figure it out. And this is a pretty darn good cutout. And we can zoom in and see how good this edge is. Sometimes you're left with a little vignette around the outer edge. So let's check it out. So to zoom in, there's a couple different ways. You can use this zoom tool over here. But if you use the zoom tool, you have to click on the zoom tool, zoom in, and then go and click on, the mask tool or whatever tool. You have to go back and forth. There's a shortcut I'd like you to use, and that is called, it's the Alt key on your keyboard. If you just hold down Alt and then use your mouse's scroll wheel, if you hold down Alt and scroll in, put your mouse where you want to scroll to. Let's look at his finger. And if you put your mouse on the finger and scroll wheel up, keep repositioning your mouse over the finger, scroll wheel up or scroll wheel down, you see it'll zoom in for you there. If it's not exactly where you want it to be, let up on Alt and hold down on the space bar. Now, mine went over here to Chrome, went to this little bit of a hit. If I just click on the page and do the space bar, it turned it into a little hand. It's called the grabber hand tool, and the grabber hand will let you drag your picture where you want it to be on your page. If the space bar shortcut isn't working for you, the hand tool is right over here as well. You can just go and click on that. Then we need to get back to the cutout tool to see our cutout options across the top. So we go around, we look at the edge. This is a really good looking edge. Again, it's a really good looking edge because it was on a white background. This little area right here that says hint removed If you click this and you turn this on, it'll show you your original picture at like 20% or so. And you can see, there's the original background. You can see it had that line, had this little thing here on the floor. You can kind of see those. Having that turned on sometimes can help see if, for instance, we cut off, sometimes when you do AI mask, you get like fingers cut off or the hair chopped off or whatever. So having that turned on or off, for this, we can leave it off. It looks pretty good as it is. So I'm going to take my grabber hand and click with my mouse and drag. I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to come over where the AI tool did not cut out this little white here. We should be able to see through this if we're doing a cutout. And it left this white area here. So I need a different tool. All right. There's different tools up here. The shape tool, if you use the shape tool, it's going to draw a shape. Oh, let me hit remove. You can draw a shape and it'll mask out in that shape. I do not want to use the shape tool, so I'm going to undo. Undo is under edit. Also, you can use the undo shortcut, which is Control Z. So I'm going to undo a couple times. Get back to where I was at. The magic mask tool will try to magically select your area and cut it out for you. The draw mask tool will let you use a brush and cut out what you want by painting over the area. For our purposes, let's use the magic mask tool. Let me show you the draw mask tool because it could be handy for you. Draw mask tool, you use your brush, you change the size of your brush. We need a pretty small brush here. Choose the softness. The less softness, the harsher the edge, the more softness, the fuzzier the edge. Usually you don't want a really fuzzy edge when you're trying to do a cutout, but a little bit of fuzziness is helpful. I'm zooming in using Alt and then my scroll wheel up. And then Mode, Add to Mask, will add pixels in, and Remove from Mask will take pixels away, and I want to take them away. So I want to choose Remove from Mask as my mode. And I go in here and I paint right around these edges. And the area that is coming up red is all of the pixels that are going to go away when we lock in our mask. Now, see, my brush is a little too big to get into this area. See, as soon as I let up on my brush, the mask kind of locks in. See how it's a little jagged. See how that edge there is a little jagged? That is the softness setting. If I push the softness up, get my size a little bit smaller. Go back in here. I can do this again. And now it's kind of hard to see because it's so small, but the pixels are a little fuzzy now. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to go back a little ways. And I want to show you what my brush looks like with a higher softness, just so you can see the difference. Okay, try to go right along the edge here. Now watch what happens when I let up as opposed to when I did it before. See how soft that edge is? It's kind of nice, but it's hard to get a nice, then there's a lot of white fuzz in there, right? Because of that feathering, that softness. So, I usually try to find a happy medium in there, 22% maybe. Brush size down. Okay, so that's how you really get in there and do some work. We're going to use the magic mask. Magic mask, all you do is you click on a color. Click on the white color, boom, cut it out. One click. That's a pretty jagged edge, isn't it? I'm going to undo that. And then set this feather setting I don't know, 25? What's that do? Ooh, that is too feathered. Let's undo that. Let's try like 5. Boom. Nice. Nice. I wonder if we can get this little white out. Let's click on that. Boop. Not much. Click, click, click. Gets it out a little bit. And it actually, that'll be plenty fine for what we're going to do. It's going to look just fine. If you really wanted to get in there, you go to your draw mask, your brush here, and a small brush, and you'd start really getting in there and paint along those edges to clean up any area that you think needs to get cleaned up. But we don't need to worry about that. We're going to call this a good looking cutout. Now we're going to move this cutout over to a picture of the moon. Go to File, and we are going to do a stock search. Now this is the file menu. You probably don't have a file menu for Chrome if that's the browser that you're using, but if your browser has a file menu, we want the file menu for Pixlr, okay, which is here inside our window. And go to Stock Search. We're going to search for moon. Let's see if moon gets us what we want. You can see that I searched for moon surface. Yep, let's search for moon surface. Let's see what we find. Scroll down a little bit. There's one that looks pretty good. It's different than the one that I had before. Yeah, find one where, it's going to look like where we can put Sparty. It'd be cool if you found the same one I did. And if you load more, more pictures will start to load in for you. Find a good moon surface picture, and it's going to say what size you want that. You want it big, the original size, 3000 pixels, full HD web. Full HD is a good happy medium size. It's a good monitor size. You're going to choose full HD and hit apply. There we go. Now to get Sparty from here over to here, you see that there are these 2 little tabs now. Okay, there's our first picture and our second picture. So click back on the tab here to get back to Sparty. And we're going to do a select all. Now, if you like shortcuts, the select all on any program ever is always Control A. You can also go to the select menu up at the top here and choose select all. But you can see there it tells you the shortcut. Control A. So select all selects our whole picture here. And it doesn't matter that it's selecting the whole picture because everything that's this little checkerboard is just transparent. It's missing. So selecting all is the easy way to go. And then we want to copy it. Again, if you like shortcuts, Control C. Otherwise, edit, copy. And we come over to the picture of our moon and we go to edit, paste. Now, if you do paste and nothing happens, there could be a lot of reasons. Come on over here. Make sure you're in the right layer. Over on the right where it says layers, maybe you accidentally have an extra layer. Make sure you're in the layer with Sparty in it, which in our case is just the background layer. Make sure it is indeed selected. You see the little dotted lines. Come over here, and I've got an extra layer I didn't need to get. There we go. Come over here, and if Sparty is not popping in when you go to edit, paste, it's possibly a glitch with the program. This is a web-based program. Sometimes it gets confused. And if you're saying paste and it's not pasting, just close out of this program. Just quit out right out of it. Just hit the little X, close out of the tab, open up a tab, pixlr.com/e, and open up your picture of Sparty. Click home, open up a picture of the moon, and do it again. Chances are it'll paste in there for you. It's one of those things, working with a free program, sometimes it doesn't always do exactly what you hope it would. So at this point, you've got 2 layers. You got your background, your moon, and you've got the layer that they're calling clipboard. Now you can rename these if you want to. You don't ever really need to, but if you're doing something simple. But if you want to rename them, you go to this little the three dots right here next to layers, your settings, and you can change the name right there. You can call this layer Sparty. Go to background, we can rename that too. We can call that Moon. Why not? Don't need to though. Just now that you have more than one layer though, you want to make sure you're on the right layer. So in this case, we want to be on the Sparty layers highlighted here in kind of this teal color. And over here, we have the Arrange tool. It's probably already selected for you, but you want to double check and make sure you're on the Arrange tool, not any other tool. And then if you click on Sparty, you can move them around. And in our case, you can resize them. We want to resize it. So you go to a corner, any one of the four corners, and you click and drag, and you can resize Sparty. Now, when you're doing that, notice he always stays the right proportion, which is nice. This is what we want. We don't want him to get all weird, stretched out one way or the other. If you did want to stretch something out weird, up at the top where it says aspect fixed or free, you would click on free. Now when we go to drag him, we can mess them up. I'm going to undo that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to put my aspect back to fixed. There we go. Now figure out where you want them to go on your moon. I kind of liked in that other one that I had. He's like right up at the very tippy top. So I'm going to shrink him down so I've got room for him up here at the top. And you see he's I want to rotate him a little bit to get him a little bit more going along the edge there. So not only do I have these four corners, I've got this little circle right up at the top. And if I grab that circle at the top, I can rotate him. Okay, so I just want to rotate him a little bit. Get him kind of going the same direction as the horizon. That looks good. Good. I like it. Now this is where in my classroom I would say everybody make sure you save your work. But your work is automatically being saved as you go. There's not a save function to choose from. It's already being saved. If your computer crashes or whatever, you go back to Pixlr, it'll be there for you. Okay, now let's make it look a little more realistic. This is obviously well, I don't know if it's obviously, but it seems like a black and white picture of the moon. Sparty here is not in black and white. First, I want to do a couple things to he's too bright, I feel. Under the filter menu, got a whole bunch of choices for different effects that we can do. And under the adjustment menu, we've got some effects as well. One that I kind of like is HDR. Now, depending on your picture, HDR can create some pretty cool effects. Since Sparty's a cutout, HDR is going to show up mostly along the edges. If you push the amount, you can see the edges, they darken up. The contrast, if I push the amount way up, push the contrast way up. If you want to see what's happening, like a before and after, while you're in the tool, this little button right here, it's the compare button. You click it and hold it, it shows you your before, let up, it shows you your after. I don't know, I just feel like that looks like some dramatic lighting, like whatever, light is happening here on the moon. It's kind of hitting Sparty a little bit, kind of like that. Choose your settings or skip it. If you want to skip it, you hit cancel. You want to lock it in, you hit apply. Now, these changes are, once you lock them in, they're pretty permanent. The only way to get rid of them is to undo. But if I do a whole bunch of stuff, and then later I come and I go, I don't like that HDR, I want to get rid of that. Well, you're kind of out of luck. If you're still working on if it's the same session, you can hit undo like 100 times to try to get back to it, but then you've lost all the other work you've done. So make sure you're kind of happy with it before you lock it in. Now, one thing that, anytime you try to put something on something else, it looks like it's just kind of floating there. He doesn't really look like he's standing there. One thing that we could do is we could add a little bit of a shadow to make it look like he's there. We have the advantage of him being on this black background. So this trick I'm going to do is actually only going to work um, if you have him positioned here. If you have him down here, this drop shadow effect is not going to look right. So he's kind of got to be up here for this effect. If you put him somewhere else, just don't do this next step. You can do it and then maybe undo it. So we're going to do a filter. Go to the filter menu, pull down, you see drop shadow. Let's see what happens. See the drop shadow there? See this little shadow that pops up. Now this shadow, for what we're doing, is too far away. It looks like he's kind of hovering over the ground. That's the offset. So watch, if I put even more offset, you can see, ooh, he's really, look at, he's really floating above the ground there. We don't want to offset much at all. Like we're talking like maybe that's 4. That's 2, not 4, maybe 8 or 10. Not very far away. I'm going to do 8. And then I'm going to increase the blur. The more blur, not too much blur, you see it kind of just disappears. I still want to be able to see it, but I want it to be a little fuzzier. So I got mine set at, I don't know, like 11. And then the opacity, 50% looks good, but if you want to play with it, you get a really dark shadow, you get a really light shadow, but I'll leave mine at 50, that looks fine. Okay, and again, it's one of those things where you got to make sure that you're happy with it before you hit apply. Or if you hit apply and you don't like it, you can undo. Okay, but I like that. I think it looks more like he's actually standing on the moon there. All right. Now we're not going to do too much more with this because we've got other things that we want to get to before class is over. But um, Sparty is in one layer. The moon is in another layer. We're going to add a couple of effects that we want to add to the whole thing. And in order to do that, these two pictures have to be combined. So again, you want to kind of make sure it's in the right spot because once we do this, they're going to be stuck together. So make sure that that's looking good. Go over here to Sparty and go to the little settings, those little 3 dots here, and we want to merge down. Actually, any of these 3 will work. Merge down, merge visible, or flatten, because we only have 2 layers. They'll all do the same thing. But merge down, we'll take Sparty and combine it with the layer directly beneath it, the moon. So click that once. Now this layer that's called Sparty is our whole deal. It's all together. Okay, we're going to do an adjustment. Go to the adjustment menu up at the top, and we're going to make it black and white. Now, one way to make it black and white is auto black and white. I'll show you what that looks like. Boom, looks all right. It made Sparty really dark, which I don't want. I'm going to undo that. Control Z. Instead, I'm going to go to adjustment, and I'm going to go to hue and saturation for 2 reasons. Hue and saturation, first of all, gives me a little more control over the taking away of color. Hue saturation, take the saturation slider and drag it all the way to the left. You see how dark it was when the auto black and white came in, and he's not coming in that dark. If you wanted to lighten a little bit, you could change the lightness, although at this point, since we already flattened it, the lightness is going to lighten up the whole picture, so I don't want to mess with lightness. I think this looks good. So saturation all the way down. Now, you see in the picture that I showed you at the beginning, this one, it's got that green. I was trying to go for like, the old-timey monitor settings. So I did a colorize, which combines black and white with whatever color I choose. So let's hit that colorize button. Now, when I hit colorize, it's going to reset my saturation. So take our saturation back. Now, in this case, we don't want to go all the way back. We'll have to play with it and see, but maybe like negative 80 or 90, somewhere in there. And for the hue, oh, that's interesting. Look at that. When you go right there, get some weird splotchy in the picture. It looks like solid black, but it must not be quite solid black. It's getting a weird little thing in there. Um, so, huh, I don't love the splotchy, but and that only comes up with the green. Oh no, it comes up with the blue too. Well, we might have to do a little something with that splotchiness. So, okay, put your saturation up a little bit so you can see if you're getting into the green. I'm gonna get a green tint. I got mine at like -77 for my green. I'm gonna bring my saturation down some. My saturation to like -80 or so. Don't want it to be real green, just a little green tint to it. If you hit the compare, you can see there it was before, there it is after. Hmm. Yeah. I'll have to just, I don't know if we're going to deal with that splotchiness or not. We're going to hit apply to lock that in. And to make it have those scan lines, make it look like kind of an old-timey monitor, that's a filter as well. And it's under filter glitches. And go to the scan lines glitch. Filter glitches and then the scan lines. Oh yeah. See, we're not gonna need to worry about this. I actually like the way that blotchiness looks with the scan lines. It's kind of cool. And you choose how you want it to go. You choose the size of the lines. Now, if you go too big, the lines kind of disappear on you. I can't zoom in while I'm here. That's too bad because I feel like 3 or 4, the scan lines are actually there. I just can't see it. Oh yeah, I can see them. I'm gonna do 2, which might be a bit dramatic. 2, I might regret choosing 2, but I like that. That's kind of cool. The amount of the lines, or no, it's not the amount of lines, it's the amount of the effect. Like the more you push the amount, you get some weird colorization put added in. So I don't want to add really anything. I'll leave that at 20. And then again, before and after, if you want to compare and see what we got going on there. And then hit apply to lock that in. And then we're just going to add a little bit of text. Go to the type tool, choose the type tool, and you come down here and you can click anywhere on your page. Do you want to add a new text layer? Well, yes, I do. Thank you. Add. And then, when was this picture taken? I don't know. Was it the moon landing? That was 69, right? I'm going to do a quick Google search. Moon landing um, date, July 16th. All right, let's do that. July 16, 1969. You can change the font. If I come here and change the font, oh yeah, it does it. I wondered if I had to select it first. You don't have to select it; it'll just do it automatically. But it looks like we're going to use this font here, Courier New. I was wondering if there was a font that looked like an old-timey uh, screen. By the way, see all these fonts that have little crowns next to them? Um, that means those are, what's this? Dan Duck. Dan Duck. Where'd that go? It's got scan lines already built into it. That's kind of cool. No, that doesn't look like that doesn't look like a monitor. I don't want this to take all day. There might have been a cool monitor looking font in here, but we're just going to go with Arial or Courier New. That's pretty good. Um, Go to Format Bold. Yeah, that'll make it pop a little bit more. Format Bold. And while we're at Format, right up here, we clicked Bold. Let's do a right align. Align right, this one. And I don't. You can play with line spacing or letter spacing if you want, but you don't need to. Let's put where it happens too. I'm going to go to the end of this one and hit enter, and Places on the moon. I'm going to try to find a cool name. Oceanus Procellarum. Um, oh, this is the Sea of Tranquility. I don't know how you say that. Mare Tranquillatus? I don't know. I'm going to put that in. And then this is too big. I was playing around with size. Size, what it was probably good. Let's do 70. All right. And if you want to move it, you just come down with your mouse. You just put your mouse on top of the text. It turns into these little directional arrows. Zoom. We can just put that down there at the bottom. I want to do one more thing, and we're going to call this good. This is a little bright. It probably would be kind of dim on the dim, old-timey monitor. So we're just going to change the opacity. We're going to make this a little see-through. So if you go to the little three dots right here, go to the settings, go to the three dots. Boop. Opacity is one of our settings. So we're going to take this slider and we're going to go zoom and bring it down. 50, 60, 70, whatever you think. I'm going to go like 60. And I think we're going to call that good. We got Sparty on the moon. Sparty on the moon. Now, if you want to save this, and I know you do, you go to File, Export, and you want to do Quick Export Page, not Layer. Quick Export Page. If you just do the layer, you would get Sparty, but you wouldn't get your text. Or you'd get your text, but you wouldn't get Sparty, depending on what layer you're on. So, File, Export, Quick Export Page, and then you can give it a name. Sparty on the moon. And you can save it to your flash drive. Make sure you're on your flash drive somewhere, because if you save it to your computer, you won't be able to take it with you. So make sure it's saved on your flash drive. We did it. If you go back to home over here, click on the little home picture, you'll see the project that you did right there. And you can see it's got that weird name. You can rename it here if you want to. If you click, sure, maybe you can rename it here. But anyway, this will be here only on this computer. So if you go home and you're using Pixlr E and you're working in projects, they'll be here every time you come to Pixlr E. Your projects will be here for you until you clear your cache or your browser clears your cache for you. So if you really want to make sure you save something, make sure you do the export. So you've got it saved somewhere other than right here. And also, there's a document called a PXZ. It's a Pixlr document. If you want to be able to open it up and see all your layers, if you start playing with this, you might end up with 20, 30, 100 layer document. You don't want to lose that. That's a lot of work. So you go here and you go to your three dots and you can download it as a PXZ file. Same thing. Sparty on the moon. Spelled that weird. Sparty on the moon. Okay, doesn't matter how the spelling is. And then save it. Now, the PXZ file can't be opened by anything other than Pixlr. So, you might see it on your flash drive, you might try to open it somewhere, double click it, and it's going to give you an error. You're going to be like, what is this even? PXZ, you go to Pixlr, and you go to Open Image, and you open a PXZ file, and you'll see all your layers. That's it for this one. See you in another project.